Step 1. Use clear language in national security leadership. Let's be open here. Throughout our history, Australia has enjoyed the strategic protection of a dominant, English-speaking democratic power. At Federation, we enjoyed protection from the United Kingdom and the benefits of Pax Britannica. That protection was challenged in the First World War by Germany and ended sharply and brutally in February 1942 with the fall of Singapore at the hands of the Japanese Imperial Forces. Prime Minister John Curtin, only a month later, gave a speech in March of 1942, broadcast on Radio Australia, signalling that Australia looked to America as the paramount factor on democracy's side in the Pacific. A very nice and clear message. Since then, we have enjoyed protection from the United States as we wove ourselves into the post-war order of Pax Americana. This protection has not come without cost, though. Like all areas of life, there are trade-offs. One of the trade-offs for enjoying the benefits of Pax Britannica and Pax Americana is that we have been obliged to defend those respective orders with our blood and with our treasure. To be blunt, we have defended the values and interests of our senior partners with more than 100,000 Australian lives over the last century. We wish that the world was a safer place. We do. But security is never final, and complacency is almost always fatal. For the United States, the dilemmas of dominance are more acute and urgent than ever before. From the Red Sea to Israel and Gaza, from Ukraine to the Taiwan Strait, we are seeing breakouts of strategic disorder across the globe. And they matter to Australia as we feel the impact and see the fractures to Pax Americana. Authoritarian powers and their proxies are on the move. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Hamas, Houthi rebels, to name a few, undermine the order that underwrites our peace and our prosperity. And we all know that China is undergoing the biggest peacetime military build-up since the end of the Second World War. That's not a secret. It's not a secret at all. But behind closed doors, the analytical consensus is clear. We are facing a grave and deteriorating strategic situation. But disturbingly, there is a vast gap between the closed-door analytical consensus inside government and the public conversation that the Albanese government should be leading. Worse, ministers of the Crown use obscure and bureaucratic language when talking to the Australian people about our threats and challenges. Everyone here in this room knows that language matters. We're being let down. The language we currently hear is everything that George Orwell warned about in his 1946 essay, Politics and the English Language. He called such language pure wind. Let's start with the phrase preventive architecture. This is the language used in a keynote address at ASEAN by a cabinet minister, and we heard it again last night from the same minister. Preventive architecture. What does that actually mean? It sounds more like strategic contraception than it does deterrence. No one really knows. It is, as Orwell says, largely of euphemism, question-begging, and sheer cloudy vagueness. Next, consider this phrase, this time from the Deputy Prime Minister only last week at the Sydney Institute. The man charged with explaining what deterrence means said this: "It means having the capability to engage in impactful projection through the full spectrum of proportionate response." I don't know about you, but I can visualise nothing at all, except maybe President Josiah Bartlett asking a stunned White House Situation Room about the virtue of a proportional response. And for the West Wing tragics in the room, that's Season 1, Episode 3. This sort of language is pure wind. But try this for an image. Beowulf confronts Grendel, the monster nursing a hard grievance. He cannot use his sword in hand-to-hand combat, nor can his men use their ancestral blades, as no blade on earth could ever damage their opponent. So Beowulf waits in his bed for Grendel to attack him. He uses surprise and grips his arm so tightly that he cannot escape. As Headley writes, his bones cracked, but he could not wrestle free from the clasp. War wedded to a woe-bringer, who clung like no human ever clung, keeping him close. Beowulf tears off Grendel's arm, who retreats and dies in his lair, his hourglass emptied by the struggle. Can you see that image? I can see it, and I see the point. We can't rely on old ways of thinking, our ancestral blades, if we hope to deter our adversaries. We must discover our own asymmetric, vice-like grip, so that if we are attacked one day, we can surprise and tear the arm off an adversary. And we hope Pillar 2 of AUKUS yields plenty of asymmetric, vice-like grips. If our friends from Japan join us in that quest, we will be stronger for it. But our people need a strategic narrative more potent than preventive architecture or impactful projection to help them get there.